I now welcome the Chair-Rapporteur of the Working Group on the use of mercenaries as a means of violating human rights and impeding the exercise of the right of people to self-determination, Ms. Jovana Jezdimirovic Ranito. Participants wishing to make comments and pose questions to the speaker are invited to do so by pressing the microphone button within the next 3 minutes, after which the list will be closed. Again, the time limit for each speaker will be announced before the floor is given to the first speaker. Once again, thank you for your kind cooperation. I now invite the Chair-Rapporteur to make an introductory statement. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, Excellencies, distinguished delegates, it is my honor to address you today in my capacity as the Chair-Rapporteur of the Working Group on the use of mercenaries as a means of violating human rights and impeding the right of the people to self-determination. From the outset, I joined my peers in unconditionally denouncing the U.S. government's actions on the Special Rapporteur of the occupied Palestinian territory and expressed my full solidarity with Francesca Albanese. Sanctioning a Special Rapporteur appointed by the Council violates international law and is a direct attack on the integrity of the UN human rights system, including the special procedures as a whole. I call on all states to act decisively and denounce these sanctions and refuse to carry them out. And I also call on the United States to immediately withdraw these illegal sanctions. Distinguished delegates, I now turn to our report to highlight some of the disturbing trends that we increasingly observe, where mercenaries, mercenary-related actors, and private military and/or security companies are being used by states, non-state actors, and other actors as proxies, enablers, and facilitators in their operations around the world, often with devastating impacts, particularly on civilian populations. These actors operate in legally gray areas, bypassing international obligations and accountability mechanisms. They are used in myriads of ways to undermine international order, sovereignty, territorial integrity, and sustainable development. They are not only used in armed conflicts, but also in peacetime settings, and they are increasingly being used to combat organized crime, including cartels and gangs whose activities and operations transcend borders, and in counterterrorism and humanitarian operations, often without regard for international human rights and humanitarian law and standards. Proxy actors, enablers, and facilitators are not merely bystanders to conflict. They are also key initiators and perpetrators of conflicts. Indeed, mercenaries, related actors, and private military or security companies are used to fight proxy wars with denial of states. They are also used to suppress opposition movements, exploit natural resources, and prop up regimes that came up to power through unconstitutional or unlawful means. Our report thus warns that this outsourcing of violence fundamentally erodes sovereignty, weakens state institutions, and undermines the rule of law. It destabilizes entire regions by empowering armed groups and criminal networks. Equally concerning is the rise of the state-sponsored military companies, entities that blur the line between public and private, between national services and profit-seeking enterprises. Their actions are often cloaked in secrecy, enabling the evasion of accountability and perpetrating impunity. In cyberspace, we see multiple challenges in the use of proxy actors with the emergence of those who engage in disinformation campaigns, espionage, and digital attacks on behalf of anonymous clients. The digital space has become another front for mercenaries and private military security companies' activities and is used as a form for the recruitment and fueling the mercenary-related activities. We are therefore deeply concerned that accountability mechanisms and their implementation have not effectively stemmed the use of these actors. We know that regulatory frameworks remain dangerously weak to combat this phenomenon. To date, only 38 states have ratified the International Convention against the recruitment, use, financing, and training of mercenaries. No permanent member of the Security Council has done so. Enforcement mechanisms are lacking or are absent. Existing regional instruments, such as African Union Convention for the elimination of the mercenarism in Africa, also suffer from low ratification and weak implementation. Soft law frameworks exist, such as Montreux Document and the International Code of Conduct for Private Security Providers, but these remain voluntarily. We are thus witnessing the rise of privatization of the use of force without accountability, one that undermines the very principle of the Charter of the United Nations, including the prohibition of the use of the force against the territorial integrity or political independence of any state. Distinguished delegates, the human rights consequences for the use of the mercenaries, related actors, and private military security companies as proxy agents are devastating. Our report refers to widespread violations, from mass killings and sexual violence to the forced displacement of entire communities. Indigenous people and rural populations are being uprooted from ancestral land to make way for resource exploitation secured by private armed actors. The right of people to self-determination, a very crucial subject of this committee's work, is being severely undermined. Human rights victims are subject to intimidation, reprisals, and even killings when they seek redress. Perpetrators operate across borders, shielded by shell companies, secrecy laws, and diplomatic impunity. This culture of impunity continues, and our report highlights the dire need to address this urgently. The working group seeks stronger commitment and political will from member states to address and combat not just mercenarism in its conventional form, but mercenary-related actors and private military or security companies who are using proxy actors, enablers, and facilitators to undermine human rights around the world, particularly the right to self-determination. We call on states, therefore, to ratify and strengthen existing international and regional conventions, support the drafting of a binding international treaty to regulate private military and/or security companies, and establish domestic oversight bodies with the power to license, monitor, and investigate such companies. Increase transparency by disclosing contracts, command structures, and rules of engagement. Hold perpetrators accountable through prosecution and sanctions. Support civil society and human rights defenders who document abuses at great personal risk. We also call upon the United Nations and the international community to play a stronger role in highlighting the need to strengthen protection against mercenaries and private military security companies, activities in peacekeeping mandates to coordinate more closely between human rights and peace and security entities, and to harmonize data collection across the system on these phenomena. The working group also reaffirms that the monopoly of legitimate force belongs to the state, exercised in accordance with international law. Violence should not be privatized. Security should not be commodified. The spread of mechanisms, mercenarism in all its forms, is not only the threat to human rights, it is a direct attack on the international order that this assembly was created to uphold. We need to act with urgency and unity to reaffirm the principle that all people in every region have the right to live free from the violence of those who wage the war for profit. In doing so, we honor the spirit of the Charter and reaffirm our shared commitment to the right of the people to self-determination, peace, and dignity. I thank you for your attention.
I thank the Chair-Rapporteur for the presentation.